or is there going to be an aftershock to the earthquake? I think that there will be. Typically, dips like that, especially when the VIX goes way up. The VIX is the fear gauge. That's where they measure how frightened investors are. When the fear gauge goes up, you tend to see a lot of volatility with that. So that means even after the earthquake happens, there is an aftershock. There is kind of just this up and down, up and down, up and down, because what happens is that the market is notoriously committed to overreacting, just overshooting the mark every time. So you have these crazy reversals. You just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so ultimately, this is something that I want you to be mindful of. And the best way, sometimes the best way to get through an earthquake is to sleep through it. Uh, I've had I've had times where, I went to sleep and woke up and found out there was an earthquake or a tornado that night, and I didn't even know anything about it. Now, sleeping through a tornado, though, can also get you killed, but a lot of times it can also keep you from being afraid, especially given that most tornadoes don't lead to anybody dying or anything like that. So sometimes with the market, doing nothing is the best move that you can make. If you're a long-term investor, all the volatility eventually balances itself out. If there's a dip, usually if you hold a portfolio long enough, the dip goes away and you're fine. So most risk actually, when they talk about risk in investing, and this is something that we analyze deeply from a theoretical and mathematical standpoint in finance, is the thing about risk is that a lot of risk is mitigated through time. Time is powerful in finance. Time is just the equalizer. Time is the wealth builder. I mentioned to you all that the Black community isn't struggling financially because we waste money. We're struggling more because we waste time. And that means if I see a 25-year-old who's broke and buried under student loans and begging for jobs and scared to death because they don't have enough money, I always say, well, who wasted time? Who was the person that was responsible for investing for this child when they were young? If they'd simply bought them a couple shares of stock every week from the time they were born, they wouldn't have these problems. So somebody wasted time. Instead of spending that time buying shares of stock, they probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on toys, football camp, and all going to the movies, going to the mall, stuff like that. But you got to also put money into the portfolio, into the capital base. The capital base is the economic shield. The capital base is what protects young people when they get out into the world. So every single child who has somebody who loves them will have someone who gives them a capital base. Just like your mama makes lunch for you when you go out, she wants to make sure you're not hungry. Puts a coat on you to make sure you're not cold. But you got to also make sure that they're economically fed and that they're also economically warm. And that involves the creation of a capital base, which is best done over time. So if you're trying to get started with this, I created that list of the 10 best stocks for beginners. You'll if you text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948, you'll not only get an invitation to our Money in the Morning economic elevation training, but also you'll get that list on Friday. I think Friday afternoon is when we send it out. So feel free to take a look at that. All right, so let's see. Next question. Michael says, I'm in Mara. The cover call set to expire 9/20. Is there a strategy that makes sense to have this contract expire sooner? You know what, Michael, when you buy or sell an option, the contract only ends if you end it. So if you sold it, then you have to buy it back because September 20th is a month from now. So so if you want to get out of the contract, you just have to get out of it. And of course, when we meet for prime class, we can go into more detail with options. But generally speaking, um, that's pretty much it. When you are like, so for example, selling a call option over a long period of time, it's a great way to raise money if you believe that the market is going to move in your favor. If you believe that the market is going to move in a way where that option that you sold is going to go down in value, then you can make money that way because you did what it needs to be done to make money in investing. That's buy low, sell high.